there a motion to open?
I'll make a motion.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Don't have any minutes this month. No mail, no appointments. So let's do a quick FY26 budget update. I know you guys, I was there with you at the finance committee meeting, just wasn't sure if there was anything else heard from the town yet, or if it's just kind of
Well, if you look in there, I gave you a copy of basically what was the final as we know it, or at least that's what was discussed at the finance committee meeting. The only things that really stuck out that had somewhat of a conversation on them was the salaries for an accountant, which we didn't have in the past. Now we're paying $8,625 for an accountant. And then if you go down to the indirect cost section, all those items listed there, workers' comp, unemployment, health, liability, pension, Medicare, those were all health insurance and Medicare and unemployment were in aspects of the budget that are no longer existing. For instance, fringe benefits was $42,500 for FY25, and Medicare was $11,325. So now the health insurance is $39,508, and if you add the unemployment, that's kind of what the fringe benefits was. Workers' comp, I believe, is new, maybe not, I don't know. Liability insurance, I don't really know. We couldn't find a way to equate that to the insurance number that had been taken out in the past. So those are now indirect costs that everybody can see, everybody knows are part of the budget and so on. And the only other thing that stuck out was capital projects, where we have an $84,000 request as opposed to last year's $37,080. So the bottom line is you have a budget that's basically 4.73% higher than last year's, and if you look at the budget breakdown at the bottom of the second page, you can see the comparison between salaries, or what they refer to as, I don't know, you got some fancy name for it there. Personal services. Then the expense total, then the indirect cost total, the debt service, and the reserve. So
I did speak with Jamie
nutshell.
Velasquez last week, and I asked her for an update, and she basically said what you guys did at the meeting was what's standing as of now. So I guess that's where we're at.
Hopefully they corrected the debt service, they put some money back in the capital thing. My big thing was, if they were adding something, I just didn't want it being taken from you guys and other lines. As long as we can live with the rest of the budget, this is kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have those things separated out. I just didn't know, there's a couple of them that you knew came out before. I don't know if workers' compensation was hidden in some other line item, but now nothing's hidden. You can see that, okay, here's workers' comp, so this year will be a good measuring stick, because you can see how much you paid in workers' comp, what you paid in unemployment, health insurance, liability, pension, and Medicare. That way you can budget better for FY27, because you have something to compare to. The only thing that's missing that I don't know where it went, is the actual, where's the line item for insurance of everything that's in this building? And everything that's up in the...
Right, we had an insurance line item.
I believe that falls under liability.
Yeah, but that liability number,
it says
they have,
including-
that's $13,498.
Yeah, it does say including liquor.
It says,
Right.
yeah, including
I thought
liquor,
that-
but
Yeah.
that 13, I don't think that 13,498 is
Covers it?
covering $1.6 million worth of equipment you got sitting in this building. Not to mention the pesticide building across the way, which has got $70,000 worth of stuff in it. So that would be my only question. I don't know where that, what line item or how that's covered in insurance. Because we used to have an insurance line item that was, had a substantial amount in it. We had $32,500 in indirect costs last year, which I was told last year was insurance. That's where the budget numbers are.
Should we ask about that? Figure that one out.
Well, I'll have to ask, I just want to make, I mean, obviously, it's covered somewhere.
Previously,
I just want to make sure,
32.
we just want to make sure it's covered, because the existing insurance folks had requested, I gave them a purchase value and a current value, was it last year or the year before, of all the equipment. I've updated in my notes over time, but no one's really asked for an update from the town, so. I don't know where that particular
I see it on yours,
stands.
Dana. You sent out last week or whatever.
You know, the town has like a master policy that covers everything within the
Yeah.
town. So it's just really how much do they parse out to any other department within it? So I wouldn't be concerned that we all of a sudden don't. Maybe it's just the way they're accounting for breaking everything out differently
Yeah.
this year than in the past.
So then my question would be, now that this is finalized and we have that final budget number of 2.132 with a 100,000 in reserve, I'm anticipating on forecasting out monthly our budget based on 2,032,000 and leaving the 100,000 reserve out.
Correct.
So I'll have that ready for the next meeting. So you'll,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, as you have the forecast, I'll prep next year's forecast with the 2,032,000 and break it down. But I have stated to, some concerns with, and we've discussed this kind of off camera, but off and on. In the history of this, operation, the key to our success has always been the flexibility, right? On bad years, quick maneuverability, cut back on costs. So my only concern is as those indirect costs increase, that then limits your maneuverability on inclement weather and recessions and allows you less mobility to make management decisions. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, I mean, when you have X amount of dollars that'll be tied up in indirect costs, that disallows you from saying, all right, well, we gotta cut this, because you're not gonna be able to cut it once it's been assigned to a line item to do something.
Yeah, well, those indirect costs, I think those are proposed as, one, items which you don't have any control over.
Right.
Right.
But two, items that really aren't something you can cut unless you cut something else. I mean, workers' comp, you could really reduce somewhat, but you'd have to get rid of some workers.
Right.
You know, and so on, so it's,
I mean, right now, if we had to hold back on whatever, reduce hours, reduce advertising, reduce pro shop purchases or food purchases, if play's dying down, we have some things that naturally will diminish and we can kind of save money in those spots, and Steve would go through his budget. But once those numbers are assigned to something else, you own them. So, I mean, we'll see how far it goes.
And that brings us into, anybody else have any questions about next year? So I put FY '25 on his, because I just wanted to see how we did in April, and he's got that on here,
Yeah.
so.
All right, so I handed out your plans and actuals. For April, we had forecasted 224,717, and we came in at 235,470. And if you look down to the previous April, we had a stormy April the previous season, and we did some cot path work, so we only did 198. So we were ahead of that and ahead of forecast, leading us to be approximately up 165, 166 rounded up. So we're holding our own, and then you can see May is forecasted at 262, and last year's actual was 286. So if weather cooperates, and as you see from the parking lot today, if it's sunshine, they're coming. These other golf courses are making not as good of decisions as we're making, and the play is coming. So as long as we keep making the right decision, Steve maintains the course conditions and we get good weather, and we keep moving forward.
Any questions of Dana on that?
Looks good.
All right, we have Steve's, no, Andy's next operations up there, we'll keep going in order. Alright, we'll stick with Dana.
Yeah, I basically, it's just, actually Steve's probably gonna go over it. We got a refrigerator for the outdoor cafe. That's installed and up and running. The grill is functioning on weekends now. And we have an outing coming up, Old Colony's coming up. We have four carts that need repair. They're coming in on Friday, I called.
Supposed to be tomorrow.
Yeah, Cooktown will be able to fix those, so everything will be up and running. And we have aeration planned for next Monday and Tuesday.
So there's enough carts, right? So
Once those are fixed.
they don't come barking, yeah. And there's enough carts for that one extra, or do we have to?
Well, how many people did they schedule?
Too many.
Well, here-
38.
I mean, that's the thing, I mean, you
Instead of
take,
172.
you take the number of, you take the number of carts you have,
Right.
you know, and multiply that by 2, and you know the number of people you can get in the carts.
And add
Now, of
some.
course, you don't want to give away, I mean, they need a cart, you know, so you can't give away the utility cart, because if something happens, you
Yep.
need an emergency, you have to send that out.
You might need a
And you
ranger.
might need a ranger or 2. So you either stick with that particular number, which, you know, is usually 144, and then if you want to have, you know, then I would suggest the next time around buying 2 additional carts that are a different color or something, that are ranger carts that don't go out in outings and so on. So you have them, you know, for emergencies and stuff. But the people who book, you know, 160 people, and you only have 144 worth of carts, you know, somebody's
We've
going
got
to
a good
want.
number of them reeled
Bring
in.
a caddy.
We'll be a little bit tight on this, but I think we should be able to pull it through.
All right.
And
I
have to
talked
use a
with you
couple
last
flatbeds.
week about that,
Yeah,
right?
I think we got this dialed in finally.
And I'll make a motion that from here on in, with no exceptions, we do 144. No more.
Yeah.
I don't care who the heck it is.
Is that an actual motion, John?
I'll make that motion. That all tournaments are capped off at 144.
Anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
That's it. So
Done.
we don't have people coming in saying, well, who's gonna cut?
It's policy.
Well,
It's
I have
locked
4
now.
extra guys. Well, that,
How often does that happen besides
The course
that
is-
He
one?
used to have them quite a bit.
They used to have it a bit.
Yeah,
They used to have quite
guys
a
playing
bit,
160.
but, you know, what,
Oh, yeah, rent cars and everything.
Your only other alternative,
Nuts.
you know, and you have to, you shouldn't have an alternative, because
Right.
over 144 people, it makes the round long.
Right.
It just,
144
it's
makes
just
the round long.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
especially when it's hot,
Yep.
you know, and
the other thing is the course is designed for 144 players.
That is
Period.
right.
It's more of a headache for you, him, and everybody else. If you add 4 more people, 8 more people. We're not making a lot of money off of 4 people.
no.
We're doing a lot better if we don't do
That's not a
that.
term.
Yeah, well, and to the outliers, I've spoken to their commissioners and shared with them that, look, they're not, I know the outing you're the commissioner for, but they are our customers, so the overall perception of the business, if you're putting out people out there and they're staying out there for 6.5 hours, that doesn't reflect well on us, so
That right.
let's dial this in so everybody enjoys themselves
That's a good
and,
day.
and yeah. And
Well, the
you
other
guys
thing
come
too, I
back
mean,
and
they
do
have
it
an
again.
outing, they can make, I mean, you just don't have to have golf people, you can have people who sponsor a sign, maybe there's some people who want to contribute who don't play golf, so you have a special category for them. But you
It's
get
FOMO, fear of missing out,
Exactly.
that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, but then they get out there and they
Oh, yeah.
get aggravation of
Oh, sure.
moving nowhere.
Well,
They realize they didn't miss anything.
And then they
Yeah,
start to
you're not
drink
getting
more,
aggressive
and the more they drink, the more
Yeah,
upset they
144 is
get,
right.
and before you know
One
it,
or
you
the
got a
other.
mess.
that's it.
And we have some outings that will cap at 128, because they don't even like 144.
that's fine.
It's a smoother round.
I mean, it makes it a lot easier for everybody around. Those people that are running these fundraisers, like when I always did 144. I didn't
Yep.
go over
Nope.
144.
Never.
Hey, you're late? Too bad. I can't do
And
nothing for
you didn't have a problem doing that.
No, I know.
So people are just too
I know
nice.
that, I know, and I talked to you about that.
Is it official now?
It's official, 144 is the
No,
rule.
I don't think
Well,
so.
not
Oh,
quite,
sorry.
because John made a
Yeah.
motion. Adam seconded it, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so 5-0, it's official now. We're not gonna cut anybody off who's already booked, but going forward.
That's
right?
it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Yep,
You could really use people, man. Smart
I
move.
think it's a good idea.
absolutely. I
To
agree.
clarify, that's for the players, not just like extra people to help out.
Nope,
Just-
just playing players.
And the other thing too, if they, you know, in some of these outings, they really need to tell us if they need extra people to help out. Because not so much us being extra people, but the extra people aren't walking out to the 15th hole carrying a table. So they're going to need some way to get out there. They're going to need a cart. They're
Yes.
going to need, if they run out of supplies, they're
I-
going to need something to get back in.
He
So-
usually takes care of that, you know, he'll.
I try.
I know, he'll pack up the carts and just drive them out there and not leave a cart, but just leave all this
Yes,
stuff out
that we
there.
do.
And nobody had carts, as far as I know, it's Old Colony,
And
no.
Right, and
Once they're out there,
what
they're
I've
out.
done,
Yeah.
I would allow the commissioner of an event, one cot,
Right,
to go and manage and you know, visit teams and kind of,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's camaraderie, you're selling your tournament to everybody, so you want to make your presence known, so I allow them that opportunity to do that. But when they start asking for 3, 4, 5, 6 cots, I go, listen, you get one
Well, that's
cot.
the thing, they
If you
have
want a
to-
cot, it's $1,000 a cot. And then they go, oh, not interested. Okay,
Well, you have, you
Cut into my
know,
profits.
Team Noah shows up here at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing the guy's doing is flagging me down, asking for carts. And I said, well, you know, I don't have any, and, you know, I'm not going to take carts out of their line
Nope.
and give them
Yep.
to you, because then that'll, you know, so I end up eventually taking them out initially, or giving, you know, letting them use one of ours. But, you know, our carts are, you know, and then you turn around and you've got 2 people in the seats and 3 people standing in the back and the person hanging off the tailgate, you know. So,
That's why the insurance is $32,000.
Just say, I handle grass. That's all you have to say.
We don't need a John Elway situation here.
Yeah, no, we don't
Exactly.
need that.
All right, is that,
Is it major
Yes.
repair that's needed on those carts?
No, I think one of them smells like gas, one of them needs a spring replacement, and I think the other one or 2 won't start, so it's.
there's one of them that's missing a drive belt. I don't know what happened to it, but it's not there. That's why when you step on the gas, it just spins,
Yeah.
spins. There's one that's has a gas leak, has to be found.
Yeah.
There's one with a broken leaf spring in the back right side of the cart, and there's one other that they just bought down today that Wally said been sitting there for a while and doesn't know what the deal is with it, so
Okay.
hopefully that guy will find out tomorrow. They should be able to have them all fixed. The only one I'd be somewhat concerned about is the leaf spring one,
Right.
because that's, I don't know how somebody broke the leaf spring, but it's there hanging on the ground, so that's, I don't know if that's usually something they carry on the repair thing.
Are we offering draft beers? The tap's gonna be live?
Not this week, no, but I'm gonna try and create a feature beer. I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we did that a couple years ago. It worked out quite well. I just gotta kind of retrain the crew how to pour tap beer,
Gotcha.
cap it, top it.
drafts, yeah.
Yeah, clean the tray at night and all
You
that
got,
stuff.
you got that coming up?
Yeah, we have the truck. We got a truck with taps. So,
Like the Budweiser
Yeah.
thing?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
so
It's like an old Cisco trailer.
Yeah.
So
it
it's
does-
got to be
yes,
ready.
that's exactly what it was. How'd you know that?
Cause it's in Nantucket on.
Did it? I didn't even see that.
Look at that.
He's observant.
Very
Very
observant.
observant, yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna run that. Check it out. Typically, you guys won't order drafts while they're playing. They'll order all the canned and bottled stuff.
Yeah.
It's easier to
Yeah.
drink while you're playing, but usually that stuff takes off when you have outings and people finishing up. They'll get a draft beer.
What's
So we-
what's the price?
I haven't come up
You
with it
haven't
yet,
come up with
but it's
anything?
probably gonna be maybe $5 for a draft beer because we're at 6 and 7 for the other beers, so $1 off to get the draft, something like
That's
that.
about right, yeah.
We might do 2 beers, one like a flavor and one like a featured beer, whether it be a summer or an IPA or something that's different.
Nice.
we got Steve?
All right, just a few things, nothing new or significantly different. We are in a good good growth phase now. We've got a little bit warmer temperatures and increase in rain, and everything is starting to pop, particularly the POA seed heads. So if you look at the fairways, they kind of look like they have a white cast on them at times. That's the seed heads popping up. Those will probably take about another week and a half before we dispense with those. That just, it makes for a little bit more difficult cut and a raggedy appearance, just because they just keep on pushing and pushing seed heads. So, did want to mention that this month and the month of June probably are the two most important or busiest months of the spring and early summer in terms of us getting things back in shape, but also getting it in shape for the summer stress period that usually begins late June and runs through the first or second week of September. It also, unfortunately for us in a municipal circumstance, coincides with the last 2 months of the year where we need to make money, because our budget year is over July 1st. So there's going to be, needless to say, from here forward to the end of June, there's going to be a lot of running around, trying to get caught up and so forth. Just an update on the fourth green. It's starting to recover. It's at a somewhat of a slow pace, because we really haven't had overnight temperatures that keep the soil very warm. That's not as big a deal for existing turf, but for seedling turf, you need to have that warmth to seed the soil contact and the moisture. So once we get a little bit more warm, that'll start to kick in a little bit further. We're going to continue our fertility and top dressing. We've taken one old walk mower and set it up at a different height to cut back green with. You don't want to be cutting a green that you're overseeding and trying to get seed to grow at the lower heights that we cut the other one, because the seed just won't survive once it germinates. So did want to point out, as Dana mentioned, greens aeration is Monday the 12th and Tuesday the 13th. We're closed on Monday, and we're open at noon off the first tee on Tuesday. And then in anticipation of trying to miss or work around these crummy weather we had in April, we decided to cancel the maintenance Monday on the 19th of May. Basically, again, what that means is we're going to have to try to do more running around than we normally do, and is, you know, especially this time of year. I mean, we don't get our summer staff, you know, our 6 other summer staff that are in until they're out of school the 13th of June, so it would be the following Monday, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. So that basically gives us, what, 30 days in June? 2 weeks of them before we turn to July. Just as far as equipment is concerned, everything is up and running. We do have a list of proposed equipment that we've been looking at for a while here. Plugged some dates into it. For instance, we did discuss and put forth on the article for the upcoming town meeting the 2 aerators, and then hopefully we can look at the Ventrac rough mower in the fall, and then in July of 2026 we're going to have to look at utility vehicles and a replacement tractor, probably up in the neighborhood of 50 horsepower. One thing I will mention is that the price quotes that you see there will need to be updated, because they only give you price quotes now for 10 to 15 days, and those came back in February. I don't anticipate a significant increase right now. Most of the equipment producers have caught up, and now they don't have the large delay window. We'll see how long that lasts, because everybody's still buying. I did want to keep on everybody's mind the proposal for the additional storage space. As you can see, there's little to no space in this building. At the beginning of at the end of each day, it's a task to get everything in without people tripping over it and busting ankles and what have you. And then in order to do any type of work in this shop, we have to move every piece of equipment outside. So it is something of importance. that I'm going to continue to stress as we go along, and I hope that we could combine something like that and the rough mower for an article proposal in the fall, at the fall town meeting. And last item here is cart path work. All the cart paths have been installed, all the berms have been installed. We've started backfilling along the berms. The wet weather has made it kind of difficult because it's kind of hard to spread mud, but we were able to finish the first tee, and we'll be moving on to the 10th tee and then the 18th green. And in the past we had sodded those. Of late, I haven't really been that satisfied with the future or the long-term growth of some of the sod, especially the area to the left of the second green. So we're going to seed these areas. Probably what we'll do is we have some black construction mats. We'll probably put 1 or 2 mats out in areas where people to walk across. And then once the seed comes up, we get it cut twice. Then we'll take the mats out and people can walk on those areas, and we'll have to seed the areas that the mats were in. We'll see, hopefully, the little bit of work that Dan did as far as angling the cart path and stuff on the first hole will take care of the runoff. I don't expect to have too much, but we'll see what we end up with after tomorrow's rain. And like I said, we'll be moving on to 10 and then to the 18th green. The 18th green is going to take a little bit more work because we're going to try to repair the left side of that embankment just adjacent to the berm, and we're going to try to, in doing that, we have to raise it up a little bit, and we're going to try to direct the water in a swale so it runs down and doesn't pool and puddle or run into the bunker. So it's going to take a little work on that, but nothing that we can't get done. So, and other than that, didn't have anything else.
As you're coming back up to the clubhouse on 18, to the right side of the cart path, you're just going to try and leave that like it is, you know what I mean? Like just
I
level it
think
up.
what we may do with that is, I talked to Dan. They have a little contraption that they put on front of their skid steer. It was basically kind of like a rock hound. I'd like to take that over top of that once or twice, or just peel it back with the backhoe. Then we could take, we could loom it. We did last week. Dan came in and he took the entire storage pile that we had on the back of the driving range from years and years of whether sod or whether it was soil or whether it was sand. He took it over and he screened it. Mm-hmm. So we have that available to use. It's good material, and I mean there must have been, I don't know, 12.5, big trucks worth going out. So there's a decent amount of material there.
That's awesome.
And it cleared the whole hill. So we'll
I could tell.
we'll have that to use, and probably what we'll we might try to put a little bit of grass there, but it's so rocky and bony and woody over there. If we could just smooth it out, we'll seed it to a rough mix or a clover mix, just so there's something there to hold everything together.
Wood chips maybe, or is it too much?
Well, I don't like to put wood chips that close to play because golfers don't like hitting balls out of wood chips. So try to keep the wood chips in areas where they're not going to be in a close to play.
We'll figure it out.
It'll be, we'll get it cleaned up. It's just a question of keeping up with the other things prior to getting on that. I mean, we had to send both sprayers out today to get greens and colors and tees sprayed, and then hopefully, we missed our opportunity to spray fairways because of the rain. Some of the materials that we had scheduled to go out, they have to sit on the leaf blade. If they don't sit on the leaf blade, they don't get absorbed, and then you're basically wasting about $4 or $5 grand. So we held off on that. Hopefully we can get to that next week. part of that was taking care of the seat heads, so they're a little bit heavier than people might be accustomed to.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions and comments. On the equipment, I think for us as a committee, it might be beneficial, you know, say for fall '25, you mentioned a Ventrac rough mower. Maybe it would be beneficial for us before we make a motion to make a purchase on equipments to maybe get a little show and tell from you, Steve, as to kind of why we need the purchase and wear and tear or whatever it may be on these.
Now, not to interrupt, but way back when we first proposed that, we did that, so I can provide you with the information that everyone else was provided with. But yeah, that's not a problem.
I just think we should be, if they're decent purchases, I think we should have a little bit.
Yeah, we went over the Ventrac with the out front deck mower, plus the vertical mowing arm, and also the out front, for lack of a better word, native area mower. Those are the three attachments. The other nice thing about the Ventrac is it facilitates a significant number of other attachments.
Right.
Okay.
Like why we need it, what it helps you with, right? Just a little run through.
Yeah. Okay, and then the proposal for the additional building. I guess, John, a question for you, because you have a little bit of experience with the golf course you're employed at and their building, and I know they have only half a golf course, but kind of how does it compare, how does their space compare to what we have here, and is it the same kind of situation?
Just as bad, if not worse.
Okay.
We got 2 containers that are, just bought another one, totally full. And it is still, you gotta, in order to get everything in there, at the end of the day, or the carts, we have to turn them off, put them in freaking neutral, and manually
So
turn
just
them
up.
so they fit, and you can get everything else in there, because it's so tight. So, what he's talking about, yeah, I would think, golf courses like this and where I'm at, that it's a common problem.
Right.
It's a major problem.
It's been a problem for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at reservation, then you could jump in a car and drive over to TPC.
Yeah.
Or you could eat your lunch off the shop floor.
Right.
So you really have to kind of equate it in the number of buildings. The separate building for the sprayer, just to mix and load the sprayer in that one building. They don't mix and load outside, they mix and load inside the building with catchment, drainage, all that stuff. You really need to look at what your needs are and where you're going to go into the future. And a lot of, we have attachments. You have slice seaters, you have the roller that we spoke of earlier, you have aerators and so on, that and other equipment that should be stored in that building. And so we could make this a true shop. This is not a shop compared to what a modern repair facility for golf course equipment is. And if you're going to move into the future with all the changes in technology and everything else, I mean, 3/4 of the courses now all employ an assistant mechanic, because there's just not enough time for one person to cover everything. And really, your main mechanic, your nuts and bolts guy, the guy who knows everything, he's not the guy you want changing oil and oil filters 3 or 4 times a week. He's not the guy, you want him overseeing the grinding, but in order to get the best cut that you want time and time again, you have to have that type of equipment, and you have to have that type of setup where you can get that done, and you have to have a shop where you can move around.
So all the equipment, just to kind of keep going on, all the equipment we have here, we use.
Yes,
And
there isn't anything we don't use. It might not.
Nothing's taking up space.
Things like an overseater don't get used every day.
I understand.
Yeah,
that.
they may get used. I mean, it gets used once or twice a month, or maybe more on the driving range tee. And then, of course, when that time comes, time of the year when you're actually doing more your overseating, then you're going to use that significantly more. But there isn't anything that's sitting here that doesn't get used. The only thing that we didn't use last year was one piece of equipment, was the bunker cleaner. because only Kevin and I know how to run it efficiently, and we just couldn't get a chance to get it out there. What it does, it sieves the sand, takes out little stones and debris and other things that may get in there. But other than that, everything here is used.
So I look at this, right, so we made the motion for the two aerators, right, and that comes out to, roughly $84,000, and maybe we did this wrong, maybe before we get more toys, maybe we get the space to put the toys, which is really $80,000, right, so.
Well, the two toys you're referring to as aerators, they're going to be replacing the two other ones, so the two other ones are going, one of which is this little green thing out here. So they're actually not adding to.
No, but I'm saying if we could have, the two aerators that you have, you push out one more season, you get a new building for the same price, and then now the next season, now we got space to put them. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
So, I see a fence rack mower, I see a utility vehicle, and I see a utility tractor coming up in the future. I think, maybe we have to look at, make sure we have the space for this stuff before we start to, and I'm not saying get toys and get a space. I think maybe it's one or the other. I don't know, we have to talk about it, but that's how I look at it.
Well, again, I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna be here in 10 years. So what I'm trying to do, no, my
Where you going?
My wife will shoot me if I'm here.
So you're gonna be at 9 3/4.
She might shoot me for that.
You're gonna come
But
back.
what I'm trying to do is get you caught up. But just
Right.
as a for instance, if you use, now we don't have one on this side, the 4500, which we use to cut rough. The new 4500 costs $85,000
Yeah, you
bucks.
told us last meeting.
That's almost more than, depending on how costs change, that'd be more than the bloody building.
Yeah.
And, again, in order, you can't stop using particular pieces of equipment because you don't have a place to put them yet. Even my guys get mad at me because I cram these two buildings full. And I said, well, I want to have the flexibility so I can need to do what needs to be done, and I want to be able to do it in a timely fashion.
Right,
I
but
don't
if you can't fit anything else in it, you can't get the two I know exactly what Adam's trying to.
Well, I understand what he's saying, but what I'm saying is the time to work on this is now, because you know as well as I do that this might take another year to 2 years.
Right.
Because no matter what this group at this table says, there's 3 people down at
Agreed.
town hall that you have to convince.
Yep.
And by the time you convince these 3, possibly you're going to come up to an election, and there might be another one that you have to convince on top of the 2 that you
But I think
already
it's
did.
better when all of us agree first.
If you told me, if Steve, you said, look, we need 6
I'm
utility.
not going to, let me put it this way, I'm not going to sacrifice the capability to do proper aeration for a building. That's why I put those 2 in ahead of the building.
Right, so yeah, if you're saying, what you just said, like if you're saying Adam, we need 6 utility vehicles or else we can't operate, it's gonna hurt revenue or hurt the course maintenance, then that's something that we can make a decision on, right, and then propose to the higher ups, right?
Yeah, and I can swap out the ones that we have, so there's a net zero as far as space is concerned.
So that was just, I was thinking about that the past couple of meetings, and I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there and just have a conversation. The last thing I had was on super high traffic days, like Father's Day being one of them. The conversation, that's the one day of golf that I play every year, is Father's Day in the morning. That's my one hall pass, right? The pin placement. So obviously, one of the number one things should be pace of play on high traffic days, is what I would say, is to try and get these 300 golfers in and out efficiently, and what can we do to get these rounds of golf 1, 2, 3 minutes shorter, however we can do it. And one of the things that I've seen in the past as a golfer is I see pin placements on 9. 9 always comes into my head.
Back.
Where else? I don't know. So somewhere where a pin where if it's tucked in the corner, Timmy and his dad are out and they play golf once a year and they're gonna spend. I mean they just cannot get to that pin in time. It adds time. So my thought was, is there a way we can talk or have a conversation about putting those pins in spots where, let's get these guys on the greens, get them putting, get them out.
Well,
Easy setup.
you can put a pin anywhere. Getting somebody on a green, that's another story altogether. I mean, I
understand
sat, the other day, I was, one of the first weeks out here, we had a guy who called in sick, and I was cutting fairways, and I started on the first fairway at, I think it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and the next three groups that came through, now one of them hit the bloody ball in the fairway. So I'm cutting the bottom end, then I cut the top end, I'm cutting the top end, and I'm watching their third shot, and not one of them hit the
Trust me,
green.
we see it.
I mean, I make it a point to not, me personally, I mean, there's only two people that change cups, myself and Kevin. And the only time that a pin might be somewhat considered tucked is if you look at the ninth green, there is no place to put the ball. I mean, I'm not going to put the pin on the side hill lie on the back of the ninth green. So, when the hill comes down,
Yeah.
Oh,
you got to be flat.
but I've
You got
seen
to
it
be
there on
flat.
Father's
I
Day
disagree.
before.
Well, it's been on. It's
seen
been
it
on the
a couple
back.
days ago.
Well, you'll see. Well,
Taking
it was
pictures
on.
every
It
day.
was on the back.
I'm just joking.
It was on the back, but that's part of the. That's part of the rotation. You can't
Slideshow.
continually put it in the same spot all the time, or you're going to wear that
I
spot.
texted Cal.
I mean, I could go out.
And see this.
We will endeavor to make pin placements as easy as
Accessible.
conditions permit
Yeah.
during the days.
Yeah.
Well, geez, if you
Obviously,
teach
it's
somebody how to, I mean,
open.
we need to get Isaac to teach people how to putt.
Oh.
Guys out
He's
there,
teaching them.
he's not stroking. He's,
They're not practicing.
it's like, the guy who took the divot out of the 15th green on Friday. So we will endeavor to make the
Speaking
pin
of practicing
placements
putting.
as easy as possible. I did one year. I put all the pin placements in the center of the green.
Yeah.
That
what
sounds
happened?
fun.
Nothing. It didn't have a significant no.
Well, how do you know? What is there any
Because
data
I
or-
could tell by the fact. Well, there's no. I mean, I didn't go out there and measure, but I
like
could
that
tell
idea.
just by the way the people were moving around the course that they weren't going any quicker. I mean, I can tell. I mean, I can sit there and look. You got a 9-minute tee time when you have a group on the third green. You have a group on the third tee. You have someone waiting on the third tee. A group on the second tee. A group in the middle of the second fairway, and a group on the second tee. I don't care where your pin placement is. You ain't going nowhere.
It's also 3 and 4.
It won't help everybody, but it'll help.
Yeah,
It'll help.
It'll help.
It'll
It'll
make it
help
worse.
some people, but I really
It
don't.
definitely won't make it worse.
I don't really believe that pins have ever been stuck here. I mean, you may have one or two bad pins, but really,
And I don't consider them bad pins. I consider them something that needs to be done for the better golfer to
Yeah, but
experience.
listen, so on
But
Father's Day,
I agree
yes.
with that.
So what's all about is
Put
that
them
at
as
high
easy
volume-
as possible.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll find, wherever it comes in the rotation, the best spots. And even some people who aren't that good at golfers technically get kind of bummed when you consider making it so much easier for them.
Well,
I mean, really, there's some people out there who, don't
I
want you
never
to
heard
make it.
anyone complain that that pin was too easy. Ever.
Well, it depends
No.
on who won and who lost the hole. No, I mean,
That was
Well,
the fun.
I don't
to make a
remember. I don't
conscious effort
remember
of it would be a wise
significantly
decision.
sticking.
Especially at the
pins.
level of volume that we're seeing at this point.
Right.
I mean, on that day, definitely. But
On the weekends, they seem to be on the edges. This is just what I see. This is what my groups talk about.
I would say during the week, tuck them wherever you want. Right? But weekends. when
It's
you get
not.
in high
It's
play,
not. I
just
mean,
what
I
we
don't.
see.
I don't go out there to change a cup saying, "Ooh, how much difficult can I make this shot?" I go out there to have
he does too.
three
Lying.
Three flat-
The lie meter is
three
pinned.
flat sides,
I do. All the
Right.
time.
Yeah,
I
you're
get it.
looking
I
for
get what you're doing. I get
three
it.
flat
see what you're doing.
sides, and spreading out the wear.
Right.
I totally understand.
I don't look to stick a pin because, like I said, I mean, yeah, if I was at the country club, then yeah, I might make some difficult ones. Even though just because you're at a high end club doesn't mean you're a decent golfer.
No, you're right.
But I understand what you're saying. Although I wish people would stop blaming conditions and equipment and start learning actually how to play the game.
Yeah, well,
Who
you
goes
know,
first?
You and the whole world.
Furthest from the ball.
Anything changes.
Where's your golf
No.
etiquette? All that good stuff. Because I think that would probably
No.
speed things up
Part
significantly.
of this
more
Father
than anything
Day play is people hitting in the woods and searching for balls.
Yeah.
And that's amazing
Just-
because you got your kids with you.
Right.
Hey, let
Yeah.
me go see if I can find my ball. Yeah, okay. So that's 10 minutes.
Well, Junior wants to find the ball in the woods. He don't want to
Right.
play.
But to your point, Steve, I mean, maybe Dana, maybe whoever's in the shop that day, maybe just kind of give them a little boilerplate, little
And
sentence that says, "Hey guys, if you're
Make sure the range is
hitting
pushing
8 or
special
9,
Snowman day.
Make sure the range is pushing them.
that guy that's buying 2 18 packs of Pinnacles, for that one, maybe, hey, by the way, pace of play, blah, 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 there's a ranger out
Yep.
there, something, right?
If you're
No, we can
if
do
you're
that.
approaching the hole on a par 4 and you're laying 7 already,
It's over.
pick up that little
Right.
stroke.
And it's not, it's just, they just don't know, it's
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people
They
don't
could have been
know.
getting your car.
This guy,
So, in answer to your question, yes, we will endeavor to make pin placements easier on high volume days.
cool, thank you.
there's guys out there that plumb bob going for 8. So you
Yeah,
see it all the time.
and they walk for 3 different angles.
What are you putting for?
That's TV too, does
Double
that.
bogey.
Yeah, it's
I
TV.
said, pick it up. That's good.
Right, you could, but I'm 40 yards out. That's
Yeah,
good.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got Alex Nadja that puts from 20 yards off from the fairway.
He's good at it, though.
Oh, isn't he?
He's so good at it.
Isn't he?
It's insane.
Oh, it's
Well, you should,
crazy.
nobody ever does it. Take a 7 iron.
Oh,
And
no,
bumping around. I don't even see
Alex
anybody
is
bump and
putter
run.
from-
Alex
50 yards
takes
and
his
in.
putter. He can't chip to save his life, so he just putts everything. And he got to a point now where he's
really
pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
Pretty wild.
And he don't make divots with the putter.
But it depends on where you hit the ground.
He doesn't.
He does.
No.
So that guy who left the 1 on 15, he was hitting with a wedge when he was 3 feet away from the pin.
Evidently.
The guy that was pissed off.
Comes on the practice ring.
Huh? Yeah, I'm getting to the cups in the practice.
Dana, Sunday looks like nice weather,
Yep.
however, Sunday is Mother's Day.
Yes.
Any special deals or anything for play, or?
We're actually we're almost booked.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. That.
That's crazy.
The dynamics have shifted. So that day is booked almost till 1 o'clock. There's a couple of tee times in through twilight to 2 o'clock.
I think everybody's tired of waiting on Sunday, so they do the Mother's Day thing the day before.
Yeah.
Or
It's crazy.
Friday, or Friday
Because I
night.
thought it would be like
Oh,
A lot of
Saturday
people do it on
being-
Saturday.
Saturdays.
Yeah, they go out
Saturdays
to dinner
booked
on Saturday. 'cause
100%.
Sundays,
And Sunday
Sunday's
is
a joke.
90%
yeah, well,
booked.
it's usually limited
Yeah,
menus.
it's wild.
Yeah.
You know, special menus, and they
My
don't
wife's
want
going
No.
to vineyard. I might be here
There you go.
I will not be here Sunday.
I will.
I'll see you.
Any other questions? No.
This looks great.
Let's put on the
Right now.
facilities.
That's it. I just wanted to say it looks awesome out there right now.
Yeah, I just put down the bottom, the golf facilities exploratory committee. I went to the last meeting that they had. They're moving along. I mean, I think they actually made a little bit more progress this last meeting than a couple leading up to it, as far as keeping the design within check and a budget that ultimately they come to us with. So, it was a little over from what I heard in the early
Oh, yeah.
meetings, but I think the architect is finally on board with scaling it down to what we want versus what he would envision for us in the beginning. So, I just want to say I think they're moving along pretty decently into a more realistic.
There were some issues they with actually where they want to put this, and that took a while.
Yeah.
Where do they want to put it?
We still don't know, right?
Well,
It's still.
I think they're pushing back.
I mean, my thing with that whole committee, if you're gonna, that's the number one priority, is where you're gonna put it, and then you can go from there. But it's still kind of one here, one there, one there. I don't know.
What does the architect want to do? Does he say,
This-
does he have
well,
any
the-
preference, or?
The other one is facing 1 and 6.
Oh, over there.
Yeah.
When I watched the meeting, it sounded like he didn't want to put it near the practice green. Like he didn't like it.
I
Just
think
his-
it makes
his-
sense putting it there long term.
Yeah,
I
I think,
think-
I think part from what I got in the very last meeting and talking to Kurt was, I think his dissuasion from potentially putting where the practice screen was the additional cost of then having to rebuild the practice screen somewhere else.
Right.
And a
Yeah,
little
but I
bit more
think-
on the utilities. I doubt
I
the
think
utilities are
that
gonna be that much
the
more.
extra
And the
80 to
bond.
100 grand,
Yeah.
what the practice screen is worth putting it there.
Absolutely.
In the 10-year
Is
notice,
that what
say,
you
of
think it would be? Because we keep talking about what you think it would be. Is that what you think?
So-
I don't know. I would have,
Not sure.
I tend to, well, I'm sure, but I tend to keep my design ideas to myself because I don't want to complicate the issue. But
Oh, but I mean,
They're
just
being
the
complicated.
other
Strictly a
thing,
practice
well, the other
screen.
thing you have to consider is if you put it there, you have to consider the logistics of parking. Are you going to make people walk 200 yards to get into your
yeah,
building?
so I thought about that.
So you have to think about that, and you could with you could, with a little tree work and creativity, have nice views from where the building currently sits, depending on, or where the thing currently sits, which is right there to your hookup for your septic and all that stuff. And again, you not only have the putting green, but you have the irrigation infrastructure underneath.
But how much would a putting green be? Just
Well, you're going to, depending on the square footage, you're going to be
Like
anywhere
that.
from 60 to 80
Yeah, so,
probably,
all right, we're in
because
the
the
red.
putting green's larger.
Yeah.
The other, I mean, again, you got to consider the basics. Who's your audience going to be? What they're going to want. Make yourself something that can be expanded to in the future. And one other thing you consider that I haven't really heard anybody mention is the access or providing some space for these golf simulators.
that's what I want.
The National Golf Foundation just sent out a thing last week, or last month, in a discussion about them. And guess who the consultant is for the simulator setup and everything?
Tim.
Some guy named Richard Singer.
Oh, yeah, that's the guy that.
So the same guy who did your report is the guy
Wow.
that the National Golf
really?
Foundation refers to as far as these simulators. So I mean, it's something to consider, because there's a lot of people that aren't familiar with golf who can get introduced to golf through these things, and it also would be a great way to take care of people during a frost delay.
Yeah,
Go there and
Simulator
You can only
is-
take care of like 4 people at a time.
Yeah, for the winter.
It's just,
It depends. It
You
just
know, you
is
go in
something
there
else
when
to
it's
consider.
nasty
But
and-
as far as my take,
I'm not
I would
a
find a
simulator
way
guy.
to
I don't
best
like it at
suit
all.
the building where the current building is.
Behaving it.
And then I would have,
26.
I would have a deck that you can see, obviously you can see the 18th hole, you can see the first hole, you can
Gary's
see
gonna
the
do
6th
some
hole.
teaching there.
Either that, or the only other thing you could do was be creative with the shape and not disrupt the putting green, but put it in the space between the 18th green and the putting green. Because you have ample space
18th
there,
green.
but you'd have something that was shaped kind of like a horseshoe. But,
yeah,
Oh, that's
put it a little close to
You know, the bottom line is that there's still no
Yeah.
decision on action.
Well,
what's gonna be.
what he's doing, he finished up with, he's gonna do 2 plans to review. One at where the putting green is, with a set location and position the way that we think would be best suited for the customer's perspective, which is the vision we should be taking in this, because it doesn't really matter what we think,
No.
is who's coming, who's paying, who's staying, and the
Right.
longevity of that. So, putting a building where we currently sit, it sits too low, you can't see over the putting green, you can't see 18. However, if you sit up on that hill, it's a very different perspective. So what we should do someday is go out there and stand, as most of you guys already know, on the putting green and take that viewpoint.
See, I think that's the ultimate.
that's the ultimate.
And then
That's what I think.
you
And
sit
bring that
back
to
in
the
the hole
townspeople.
of where we currently sit and see how attractive that is.
well, you can always build the hole up.
But, so that's what he's preparing, two different
The
scenarios.
thing you have to
and
think
we can
about
review
is
it
building the
when he's,
hole up
completed.
worth $80,000, and besides that,
It is
where are
worth
you gonna put
$80,000.
where are you gonna put a 10,000 square foot putting green?
Where the trailer
With
is.
visible access for the golf pro and so on.
Yeah,
Where the trailer
towards
is.
where the trailer is now, or the
tent,
where the tent
exactly.
is.
Well, the 10. You got plenty of real estate to do all of that stuff. So that was one of the things we discussed real quick, is,
I gotta get going.
Yeah, that's all right.
Only because I have a
we'll
wait.
address this when he comes with the
Guys,
plans.
You can continue, I have a wait to go to, so it's up to you
Yeah.
guys if you wanna continue.
No,
No,
we
we're good.
can shut it down and we'll pick
I
that up
mean,
next
I'm fine
time.
with it, continue without me, I just,
Now,
We're done.
when's next meeting, so we get that out of the way, get David out of here.
June.
Oh, that's right, it's June 12th.
That's what I was looking
Either
at.
5, 12, 19, or
stands out.
26.
5
if you're
works
look-
for me.
If you're looking at
and
Thursdays.
5.
5 and 12 work.
5 doesn't work for me.
12's good for
They've
me.
always
Then
been
12. 12 is good or no?
Yeah.
That's
12 is good.
4 12s.
12
fine with me.
Yep.
here.
Sure. Maybe we even take some time and go outside.
I think it's a
Yeah.
great
Great
idea.
idea.
Have a little field trip.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so
Bring the shoulder cam.
June 12th,
June 12th, 4:30 here.
We'll put you on the cap with a stabilizer.
We gotta give a gyro.
hopefully it's good weather and we'll do a
Yeah.
little walking around.
John, we'll get you one like they do, like NFL football.
Yeah.
On a cable.
Get him strapped in. Yeah.
4:30 again?
Yeah.
So without anything else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Someone can
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.